subject that people taboo, but it's a subject I love because that's the only thing we really know, that we're all going to die one day, and yet we pretend it's never going to happen. So last week we spoke about the different, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's different stages of death and dying. We talked about when a person dies, the first thing is denial, and then bargaining, anger, bargaining, they all kind of intermix. And then finally, when you realize the person's not going to come back ever again, you get into a deep, deep, deep depression. And how knowledge can help you out of this depression. And finally, after the depression, and depression can take a long time in some people and a very short time in some people. And some people may just watch the depression, and this is what the yoga practices say. We learn to witness the depression. What does that mean? We learn that we are really not this body and we are not this mind, but we are able to see that this body is feeling very low. We're able to see our mind is not in a good place. This gift of witnessing the mind is what we call yoga, or what we call mindfulness. Nowadays they call it mindfulness. Being able to watch the thoughts coming up in your mind. So when you're able to watch the thoughts that are coming up into your mind, you are able to intellectually say, you know, my belief system, my pain is based on my belief system. My belief system is, oh my God, it's over, it's finished, the person is dead, I'll never see them again, and this is my belief system. I don't really believe, I know there is a soul, I know that people say they go to the other side, but I am not really convinced of this. So at this point I ask people, convince yourself. Learn about death and dying. Because the belief system that you have in your mind is what will keep the depression there for a long time or not. For example, my belief system is, oh, soul never dies. Scientific law, energy never dies. Energy never dies. So we're never going to die. It just changes form. As my guru well said yesterday, I was listening to something just put on the internet, put him on, and then he said, look at this piece of paper. Guess what? The tree died to give me this piece of paper. So we just change forms. So once you have an a belief system that is quite logical, scientific, spiritual, all in one, then what happens, you are able to go through your pain with the next step, which is acceptance. But if your belief system is, I'm never going to be happy again, I'm never going to have hope again, I'm never going to do this because it's over, it's dark, then it could take years and years and years. And even though you're religious, you can be religious, but if your belief system is not strong, it can actually work to the contrary, because sometimes people will use religion the wrong way around. They will say, why did God do this to me? I love God so much, etc. So you get into a victim mode. God punished me because I did something wrong. And I've seen many cases of that too. And that keeps you suffering for a long, long time. There's no God that punishes. Please understand this. The sun shines on everyone, good and bad. It just gives all day long. It doesn't ask for anything in return. It gives. And this divine energy just gives all day long to all of us. And how do we receive it? By going into the sun. If you want to get some vitamin D, go into the sun. That's all we have to do, and this is knowledge. This knowledge teaches you to get into the light of the divine, God, or whatever you want to call it, spirit, whatever, it's your choice. So, and this is what knowledge does for all of us. But if you don't believe that really, you will suffer. And that's why I love this path so much, because when you start meditating more, or being, it's called involution rather than evolution. We're always looking outside of ourselves to look for happiness and peace. But if you start to look inside yourself, where all the scriptures tell us the kingdom is at, where is the kingdom of heaven? Within you. Upanishads, the Lord of love, no larger than the thumb, lives in the hearts of all, in your own heart. So when you start going inwards, and then you start to understand that this physical existence is really temporary. And yes, you've suffered a terrible setback, loss of somebody that you feel is your very own self. But this setback also is a great gift, because when you feel so close to somebody and you feel they've been stripped from your life, half of your soul feels like it's gone. It's gone. Half of your soul feels somebody's ripped it from you. When that happened to me, I remember thinking, oh my God, now I know when we love somebody unconditionally, we are truly one. But at the same time, you realize, my goodness, as human beings, as with unconditional love, we are connected. When you realize that, then you realize our job as human beings is to keep connecting, not to separate, because depression and sorrow takes you into separation. And the more we go into separation and isolation, the more we will be depressed and we will suffer. So this is also the great advantage when you go through, I know it's a great advantage when you go through suffering. When you come out the other end, my goodness, you end up a better human being, much more compassionate, wanting to tell the world, hey, there is so much hope. Don't give up on yourself. The fact that you are living, the fact that you are here is because you are meant to be here, and not to make less of your partner's life by insulting your partner by being depressed, but to celebrate your partner's life by living in joy and peace. And think of it, if you were gone first, if you left this earth first, and you left behind somebody you loved tremendously, would you want them to see, would you want to see them crying all the time? What would happen to you? You will not be able to continue your journey, because why? There is this person crying for you all the time. And you have other work to do. You know, we know life is a journey, don't we? Don't you? It's a journey. We're all gonna say goodbye at the end. We all stop at different stops. So it's a journey. And when this understanding becomes part of you, then the next step is you accept. You accept the things you cannot change. And you develop in yourself, you start to learn, I need to develop the courage to change the things again. So you start to change yourself. And I remember when my husband passed, my prayer all the time was, I'm in such a dark place, I understand this will pass in time. So what can I do with my life? And I would use Master Shivananda, a great yogi's chant. And I said, this is what I need to do with my life. Serve, love, give, meditate, purify, realize, do good, be kind, be compassionate. Because that's the only thing that made sense to me. Nothing else did. Everything comes to a full stop. But if I did all those things, then at least I can leave something good back on this earth and dedicate every single action to my partner who had gone. And say, I did this for you today, In your mind, this is all mental work. Nobody knows that this is going on in your mind. Oh, I made somebody smile. That means when I make them smile, I smile too. So, wow, I've learned that every time I smile for somebody else, it eases my pain. And I thought, this is really good therapy. Why do I need to do anything else? Smile at everybody else and feel compassion for everybody else. And as a result, I will be healed. I often use this example. It's, one day somebody came into my house and she had a very bad pain in her hand. And so I said, let me give you a massage. So I took some cream and I started massaging her hand. And it was winter, and you know how in hands when you wash dishes, they're always very dry and rough, at least my hands are. So I started massaging her hands, chatting with her. And by the time I finished massaging her, my hands were as soft as hers. And I thought, this is really cool, you see? And she goes, thank you. I said, no, thank you. I would have never spent this time doing this for me, but because of you, I really got spoiled. And then, and that's what service is about. Really, it's quite selfish because it takes your mind off you and it puts your mind into somebody else. And when you do that, there's like a connection. There's a connection of healing. And that healing takes you to a place of divinity. I can just call it grace. Grace, a place of grace. There's a peace that comes in and you kind of look at your pain and you say, wow, just by developing the courage to change the things I can, this is my gift. I feel graced at a very painful time. How does it work? It does, because we're all connected. And when we're kind to each other, and especially so in our sorrow, when we're kind to each other, that's when that grace comes out, when we are compassionate to each other. And the acceptance stage of death takes you to new horizons. New horizons. When you get through that dark cloud and go over the mountain and you see the rainbow and you see the green grass again, but you see it all very differently. You see everything is on loan. You really know your life is also on loan. So to respect the energy, all that's left for you is to make yourself happy every day. And dedicated to the earth, dedicated to the earth, dedicated to all those who pass, because they're just moved into another dimension. That's all. And they need to be free. They need to be free. They don't need us to drag them down. So this is the non-attachment we speak of in yoga. Non-attachment. A lot of people don't understand. They think, oh, I can't love you because I'm going to get hurt, so I need to be detached from the world. But look at the language of I cannot get involved with you. Barrier. It's hard on the heart. It's hard on the heart. Non-attachment means I don't own anything or anyone. But my God, because I don't own you, or I don't own anything, I'm sure going to appreciate you the little time you are in my life. Because we don't know how long we have each other for. And I'm going to make sure every minute is worth it. As much as I can, consciously do. And this dimension is such a joyful dimension. And then you can live with pain and joy. And you all know that. You've all had periods of your time where you have laughed and you cried. Isn't it true? You've laughed and you cried. It's been so painful. And you go, I don't know why I'm doing this. And then you start laughing at yourself. Have you all done this in your life? So we can do that. It's just understanding your own mind, understanding death and dying. Read a lot of books about it and ask whatever questions you want to. And always speak about those who have passed. So this is the state of acceptance. If you see it done, then you know you can do it. All right? But when you have people around you telling you that you should be in mourning in all your life, you can't do it. And if you don't talk about the person who's passed, it's really, really hard because you're just digging everything deep inside. So I will finish my part of the talk with acceptance.